Hello, back again, and I just thought I'd do a YouTube clip for several different reasons. One, because once again I've had quite a few questions, and we'll kick off with one straight away from a guy called Grant from Sussex, who's otherwise known to his friends as Teddy B. So he rang me about rollability, adding oil to mixes and that sort of thing. So we'll kick off straight away with when you're making your own hook baits, or when you're making your own free offerings and you're using my mixes. This can apply to when you're using other people's mixes or your own DIY mixes at home, but a little bit of oil does help with the rolling. Certain mixes don't need it at all. For example, Taste mix is quite oily in its own right, so it doesn't need any extra oil added to it to help with the rolling process. So I hope that helps those people that use Taste and want to make firm boilies. Taste is very good also for paste, so don't forget that one. If you're using bio shellfish, it does help to put a little bit of vegetable oil in the winter in that mix, just 5 ml to every 6 eggs. Between 5 and 10 ml to every 6 eggs is fine. In the summer, you can go for salmon oil or a good quality fish oil, but it doesn't always have to be a fish oil. Vegetable oil, olive oil, Mazola cooking oil, corn oil is a good oil. They love that oil. And that same thing would apply whether you're fishing for carp or you're fishing for barbel. So oil in the mix will help the rolling. You guys need to do the experimenting to see how you get on, whether you're rolling by hand, hook bait mixes, or whether you're using a machine or a rolling table. We'll go straight on to machine rolling. Not everyone will have their own electric machine to roll boilies, but some people will be using the services of a rolling company. And there are a few good rolling companies out there, and there are a few average rolling companies out there. But I would like to think that most people have the best interests of their customers at heart and can be relied upon to provide a good service. But what I will say is this: if you're using bulk services for rolling, when they put a rolling company, a commercial rolling company, when they put their mix through the extruder that then goes onto the machine and rolls that bait, they have to make that mix, when doing it commercially in bulk, quite soft. They have to make it quite soft or it won't be taken up by the rollers and it will seize up within the mix and come out in odd shapes or bits and it will crumble. So mixes for rolling commercially have to be quite soft. When the boilies come into the tray prior to boiling in the rolling service premises or the companies, the big companies that use it, they invariably go straight into a boiling receptacle and are boiled, sometimes steamed, straight away. Those soft mixes invariably require a longer boiling time to make them suitable hard boilies. So very often, in my opinion, a lot of those boilies are often boiled too long. So if you make your own bait, or if you use the services of a rolling company, or if you buy your bait in bulk, request that it is boiled to a minimum. And usually, if it's a good quality base mix, the boilies are ready once they float to the surface of the water. I can't speak for steaming, because with steaming it all depends, and we've discussed this before, how long that bait is in the steamer for and how the steam is going into the vessel, the steaming vessel. Because if it's in trays in a line, in a cupboard, a steaming cupboard with the door shut, if the steam is coming in at the bottom, the ones on the bottom are being cooked more than the ones further up. These different methods vary, but there is no final way of being in control of your bait and making your own. Then you can control the firmness of the bait at the point of rolling it, and you can determine how hard you want the bait with every single mix you make. So you can make soft baits, medium baits, hard baits. So you know what I'm like with DIY. Interestingly enough, a quick fact here. I started carp fishing a long time ago at a time when there were no bait companies. There were no ingredient companies, and you had to go to the central library to look up in a food trade directory or a trade journal where you could buy ingredients. Most of us at that time bought our ingredients from supermarkets, health food shops, etc. And bear in mind that back in the 70s and 80s, there was no internet. So we had to make our own bait. And you know, I'll tell you a fact, guys. I have never been fishing in England for carp or barbel without using a bait I've made with my own two hands. In other words, I can faithfully promise I've never used a bait made by anyone else. Why? Because I want to know what's in my own recipes, or I want to go to somebody that I can trust 100% so that I know exactly what they're using. This is extremely important, and it's a pivotal thing for making your own bait and being in control. So you need to strike up a good relationship with your bait supplier. Ask them lots of questions about what they're doing and why. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this for one simple reason. It's funny, isn't it? But when you trawl through the internet and you look today at all the different baits that people are offering, I'm talking about rolled baits, ready to go, boilies that are ready made. Forget the hook baits, forget the dips, forget everything else, just the boilies. They're all about the same price. They all seem to be, you know, the deal is £7.50 to £8.50, sometimes £9, sometimes a bit more. Why is that? Why is everyone competing with each other, all selling roughly at the same price? When you speak to the rolling companies and the bait companies, they say, well, we can't sell it. If it's too expensive, people won't buy it. Well, in my view, put better ingredients in, be in more control, you guys that have bait, small bait companies, and make your bait more expensive, but make it better. So instead of cutting corners, I'm not for one moment suggesting people are, make your bait better. So just a few thoughts. This is in no way criticism of anybody, it's an observation. So all you people that are wondering what to do, send me an email, I will answer it. I know I'm putting a lot of work on myself in doing this, but there are ways around being in control of what you're doing. So we move on to the next thing, and I'm pleased to say, I mentioned it in the last clip, that I've got some new stuff coming out. It's all ready to go. I've done the photography for the website. 3 new flavours are coming out. So what we've got is something really unusual. It's this one here. Dolly mixture. No one's ever done that before, and it's a first. It's a JB first. 9 different flavours, some of which I don't sell separately, are blended in this bottle. Why? Because lots of people have asked me to make them different blends, which I've done. They contact me separately and I make the blends, but it's almost impossible to control. So I've decided to come up with Dolly mixture. I do make several other blends. This one is, if you remember from years ago, multiple flavours, multiple levels of complexity and multiple different tastes. There isn't anything like it on the market. It's available in 50ml bottles and 100ml bottles. I have listened to what you guys have said, and on that respect, there's another one coming, and here it is. Butterscotch TM2. So this is a derivative of all the lovely caramel toffee flavours that I produce, a unique blend with a small proportion of the cream of creams that I brought out recently, which is very strong. And a couple of years ago, when I combined those two together, I came up with a superb butterscotch type profile, which I let a few people have. So it's been on test for 2 years. It's phenomenal. There's, again, nothing like it on the market, very strong. You're talking 1ml to 1.5ml, absolute maximum for winter use. Maybe a little more, up to 2ml for 6 eggs, but you're not going to be making 6 egg mixes for hook baits. So again, you're down to 1/5 of 1 mil for a 1 egg mix. These will be uploaded on the PDF early next year. There is one final one, so I haven't been hanging around, I've been busy, and the final one is something that a few people have been asking for after the success of chicken tikka. Ala Salar and hot masala. Here it is. Ala Salar and hot masala spice. So this has been particularly good for barbel. They love it. Ala Salar is probably a world-renowned flavour now. I think it's reasonable to say that without sounding too big-headed. And I've mixed it with a slightly different blend of the hot masala I sell separately. So again, it's a blend. It's similar to a blend concept. So you don't have to buy 2 or 3 flavours. Why? Because it's all in one bottle. So here's the 100ml bottle, the standard 100ml bottle, Ala Salar and hot masala spice. So there are 2 options there. And new labels have come for the cream of creams. Here it is separately in the smaller 30ml bottle. Here it is, cream of creams. The best cream flavour I've ever designed and made. Absolutely phenomenal. 1 mil to 6 eggs. Value for money, yes. So what are we going to move on to now to discuss? I'll put the glasses on so I can read the notes I've made. Okay, so we've mentioned about the oil in the mix and the rollability. I just want to speak briefly about the different types of yeast that are out there. I've mentioned this several times before on these clips, but you know, there are lots of different yeasts in the market. They can be brewers' yeasts, they can be liquid yeasts, they can be autolyzed yeasts like Marmite, and they can be hydrolyzed yeasts. A hydrolyzed yeast has a different taste profile because enzymes have been added to the yeast culture in order to create a certain and specific type of yeast. There's a little bit of confusion off and on about the different types of yeast that are out there. Most of them do come from one product, which is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. There are about 2,000 different strains, and most of them are all used specifically and designed for animal feed, aquaculture, fish food, and pig food, and even chicken food. So they have multiple layers of uses. The main common denominator that yeast is used for, and I'm speaking slowly and accurately so there's no confusion by anybody, is for their taste, their vitamin and mineral level, and some of them have good effects on digestion. They're almost like a gut calmer. Now, I have mentioned this 2 years ago, and I use 3 different types of yeasts in my taste mix, for example. Funnily enough, not one of those is Brocacell. I do use Brocacell occasionally. It's the most common one that is used, and it's fine. It's a broad spectrum yeast which is used and sold by many of the good bait suppliers out there. So you can use it in fish bait, in any type of fish bait, whether it's a fish meal, a bird food, a savoury mix, a livery mix, or anything like that. It won't make any difference whatsoever to the way the fish assimilate and digest the bait. Why? Because carp are very inefficient at digesting what they eat, particularly so in the winter when their metabolism drops. So they eat everything, but they digest some of it quicker and better than others. And a lot of this will be discussed in my book, which I'm still working my way through. It's going to be quite exciting when it comes out. It's going to be groundbreaking, and I'm going to put right some of the myths that have been bandied around over the last 50 years. We've become a little stereotyped in some of the things that we believe in. So I want to just be completely clear so that people can understand a little bit more about bait and understand that if something is good, why it's good. Because that's the question I've always asked myself. And people say to me, oh, I use this and I've caught so many fish on it because I put this and that and the other in my bait. And I say, oh great, fantastic, thanks very much for telling me. And then I'll find out a little bit more about those ingredients and think, well, if it's so good, why is it so good? And so when you look at any single individual ingredient, you're only going to get the best out of it if it's in harmony with the rest of the mix. So to all you guys that are making your own bait or choosing to use bait supplied to you by someone else, and there are great baits out there, ask those questions of yourself. Think about how good that bait is by results, not by rumour. And I would suggest that going on to the final tip, and winter time is here, don't discount pastes. Don't discount using paste wraps. I've said this before of how good they are. If you want to get a very soft paste, sieve your base mix, just sieve it through in about a 1 ml sieve, not a flour sieve, a slightly more coarser sieve than that, and use a little bit of oil, vegetable oil in with the mix. You can put a little bit of, fish extract, shrimp extract, any of your favourite hydrolysate liquids into that, but only in a very tiny amount. So a quarter of the level you would usually use in a freebie recipe. Because it's paste, you're not boiling it, so you want to protect the nutritional signal that your nice high quality base mix is giving off, be it a milk protein, a fish related bait, or a bird or nutty mix. Any of those mixes are great, but you want to get the best out of them. So use a paste, wrap it around the boilie, chuck that out. Believe me, paste wraps are king, particularly in barbel fishing, because most people suffuse their bait with lots of horrible glugs and dips, and it's all too much. Keep the levels low, less is best. I'll keep banging on about it. We'll keep this clip short and look out for these three: dolly mixture, butterscotch, Al Salam masala spice. You may even find them up on the websites very soon. I look forward to helping anybody that asks me some questions, preferably by email, not telephone. And I'm always working on stuff and always learning. I'd like to pass that on to you guys, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and thank you for your support. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the button to subscribe. I'll continue doing these clips because I love it. Thanks very much. See you soon.